Hey guys, Sean here and welcome to the F1 Word, powered by planetf1.com. Now, drivers come and go all the time from Formula One, with apparently 777 drivers having taken part in at least one F1 race since the World Championship began all the way back in 1950, with some choosing to retire and others leaving because they have to rather than because they want to. So who are the last 10 drivers to leave the sport and where are they now? That is the topic for today's video. That's right, I am once again answering a question that nobody asked. You are very welcome. Now, firstly, the rules, or the criteria if you like. Only full-time Formula One drivers are included on this list, so reserve drivers with standing appearances such as Jack Aitken or Pietro Fittipaldi are not included, while the likes of Jenson Button and Robert Kubica made the cut-off as full-timers but also made one-off returns later as stand-ins. And just to be clear, Daniel Ricciardo and Logan Sargent will not feature on this list either, because let's be honest here, that has pretty much only just happened, so really we are talking pre-2024 season. It is also worth pointing out that yes, some of the drivers listed may well have a desire to return to the sport at some stage, and hey, they may do so. After all, take Robert Kubica, for example, who made his way back to F1 in 2019 following 8 years away. But anyway, let's crack on and have a look at the last 10 drivers to leave F1 and what they've been up to since. So kicking us off is Nyck de Vries. The Dutchman was finally given his chance in Formula One following a very strong showing at the 2022 Italian Grand Prix for Williams, standing in of course for Alex Albon, where he picked up a 9th place finish. He was snapped up by AlphaTauri, who were looking for a driver to partner Yuki Tsunoda for the 2023 season, but I think it's fair to say de Vries struggled to match the Japanese driver and was dropped following a tyre test for Daniel Ricciardo at Silverstone, where the Aussie impressed just 10 races into the season. A move some felt was ruthless and or harsh, but others felt was very much justified. De Vries was picked up for drives in 2024, returning to Formula E, and has raced in the World Endurance Championship Hypercar as well as debuting in Super Formula. Next up, it is Sebastian Vettel, who retired from F1 following the 2022 race in Abu Dhabi, with an emotional farewell to the 4-time world champion held on the start-finish straight following the checkered flag as well as other events across the weekend. If you remember, his retirement was announced on his newly created Instagram account, which caught a lot of people off guard, given his prior preference to avoid social media like the plague. Seb hasn't yet returned to racing, Race of Champions aside, but a lot of people seem keen for him to get a seat at Audi for 2026, and the German hasn't ruled out a return to racing one day, maybe. His life since retirement, though, has been focused on family and his work around sustainability and initiatives aimed at helping to tackle climate change. Another driver who waved goodbye to F1 at the end of 2022 was Mick Schumacher, although he is continually linked with a return at the moment and may well return one day. I mean, he's still got plenty of time. He is only 25 years old after all. The end of his time with Haas divided the fan base, with some believing he'd done enough to keep his seat while others felt he hadn't, and that the team needed more experience if they wanted to take steps forward, hence, I suppose, the arrival of Nico Hülkenberg. After leaving, Schumacher took up the role of Mercedes reserve driver in 2023, which, as tends to be the case, included simulator work, but this year he has combined that with his duties racing for Alpine in the World Endurance Championship Hypercar. Nicholas Latifi also found himself without a drive following the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix in 2022, having largely struggled during his time in F1 alongside the likes of George Russell and Alex Albon, scoring just 9 points across 61 race starts. His exit wasn't exactly a huge shock when the announcement came, with his place being taken at Williams by Logan Sargent, who of course himself has also been shown the door at the team since. As for what he's been up to since leaving, Latifi has largely kept a low profile in public, but did announce in July 2023 that he would be stepping away from racing to complete an MBA course at the London Business School. Next up, it's Kimi Raikkonen, who called it a day in F1 at the end of the 2021 season. The 2007 world champion made 349 race starts across his years in F1 and won 21 races along the way. He is also still, to this day, the most recent driver to win the driver's title with Ferrari. Yes, it really has been that long. Since retiring from Formula One, Raikkonen has tried his hand at NASCAR, taking part in a race at Watkins Glen in 2022, and joining Jenson Button on the grid at COTA in March 2023, where he finished in P29. He is also seeing his children begin sporting careers of their own, with his eldest child starting in karting, so who knows, maybe we'll see Raikkonen Jr. on the grid in the future. Nikita Mazepin's final F1 race was also Abu Dhabi 2021, although he did withdraw from the race due to COVID, but the circumstances of his exit were very different to those already mentioned. He was due to race for Haas again in 2022 despite a poor showing during his first year with the team because, money talks and all that. But when Russia invaded Ukraine on the eve of the new season, he and Father Dmitry were included on the EU sanctions list against the country, and so Mazepin was ultimately dismissed by Haas. Since his exit, Mazepin has been back on track competing in the LMP2 Asian Le Mans Series, where he has enjoyed some success, to be fair, picking up 2 wins in the 2023-24 season. Joining Raikkonen and Mazepin on the drivers who never raced in F1 again after 2021 list, catchy, is Antonio Giovinazzi. The Italian raced for Alfa Romeo for 3 seasons, and although it was tough at times, he did put in some very strong performances, including a top 5 finish at the 2019 Brazilian Grand Prix, and picked up a further 8 points finishes in his F1 career, scoring a total of 21 points. Not epic, but not completely horrific is the point, I suppose. Giovinazzi still holds the role of reserve driver at Ferrari, but he has also been racing elsewhere since leaving F1. He took part in the 2021-22 Formula E season, although didn't score a single point. Raced in the World Endurance Championship Hypercar in 2023 for Ferrari, including at Le Mans, where he was one of the 3-driver team to win. And he is still racing for them in the same series in 2024. Next on the list, it is Robert Kubica, or if you've been following the channel for a while now, Bobert Kubica. That's a callback. Frankly, the fact he raced again in F1 at all is just incredible, having suffered serious injuries in his horrific rally accident in 2011, yet he was still able to return to the sport in 2019 with Williams. In, it's got to be said, a pretty awful car, he struggled to find form and rookie teammate George Russell had the measure of him, although it should be said that the Pole did outscore the Brit that season by 1 point to nothing, and so did, in the standings at least, actually come out on top. Williams, though, replaced him at the end of the season, with Kubica moving to Alfa Romeo as reserve driver for 2020, and got the opportunity to take part in 2 more F1 races in 2021 as he filled in for Kimi Raikkonen. Since leaving F1 for good, though, Kubica won the World Championship in the LMP2 class in WEC in 2023 and took second place in class at Le Mans, stepping up to hypercars for 2024. His win at the Lone Star Le Mans in September, putting him alongside Fernando Alonso and Mark Webber as one of only 3 drivers to win a race in both Formula One and the World Endurance Championship. There's a stat for you. The penultimate, sort of, driver on this rundown is Daniil Kvyat. His, let's say, up and down career, which saw him given a chance by Toro Rosso, promoted to Red Bull, demoted to Toro Rosso, thrown out by Toro Rosso, and re-signed by Toro Rosso, bloody hell, poor guy, came to an end following the final race of the 2020 season. Now, views regarding his career are mixed. I don't think he was a bad driver at all, as I've said many times on the channel, but he did score 202 points across 110 F1 race starts and picked up 3 podium finishes. That's 2 for Red Bull and 1 for Toro Rosso, that one being at the race at Hockenheim in 2019 where he took P3. Following his most recent and what looks to be his final exit, Kvyat took up the role as Alpine's reserve driver for 2021, but has since raced in multiple categories, taking on NASCAR in 2022 and the World Endurance Championship in LMP2 in 2023, as well as having taken part in a rookie test in Formula E. Kvyat is now a factory driver for Lamborghini, and so is taking part in a full season in the hypercar class in WEC, and has also had another start in NASCAR. One honourable mention before we move on to the last name on this list, because, come on, I had to, didn't I really? Stoffel Vandoorne was booted from his full-time F1 drive at the end of the 2018 season, and has since won the Formula E Championship, finished second in Le Mans LMP2, the World Endurance Championship, also LMP2, and finished on the podium at Le Mans in 2019. He is also currently an Aston Martin reserve driver because, you know, it wouldn't exactly be fair on anyone else to let that talent loose in the sport again, and is also racing in the World Endurance Championship Hypercar and will be back on track with Formula E later this year, and maybe one day I'll get over my Stoffel Vandoorne obsession. We'll see. Probably not, though. And finally, it is the man that walked out of fire. His words, not mine. The man, the myth, and the legend that is Romain Grosjean. Legend may have been a stretch there. Sorry, Dan. But anyway, his F1 career came to an end with an almost unbelievable escape from his fiery crash in Bahrain, with the Frenchman thankfully able to climb out of his Haas to live to fight another day, Grosjean unable to complete his final 2 races with Haas as he recovered from his injuries. His F1 career, in fairness, is somewhat underrated, especially in his Lotus days, where he pushed Kimi Raikkonen hard and managed to scoop a number of podiums along the way. Was he the greatest driver who's ever lived in Formula One history? Absolutely not. But 179 starts, 10 podiums, 391 points, and a fastest lap speak for themselves. He wasn't the best, but despite what you might read on social media, he was far from one of the worst. Since leaving F1, though, Grosjean has become an IndyCar driver, debuting there in 2021 and has remained there ever since, taking 6 podiums and 3 pole positions over the last few years, although he hasn't yet won a race. In 2024, he combined his IndyCar duties with racing for Lamborghini in their new hypercar program, taking part in the 24 Hours of Le Mans for the first time in 14 years, and has also made his IMSA debut since his F1 career came to an end. That is it for this one then, but you can let us know your thoughts on the 11 drivers on the list in the comment section down below. And to catch up on all the latest Formula One news and reaction, head on over to planetf1.com. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean, this has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.